Oh, you can do the Boomer one. This is what we're doing.
Morning. Morning.
Well, welcome back to our IEP meeting. I think before we get started, it would be good for everybody to introduce themselves. I'm Bruce Goldstein. I'm the Director of Special Education for the school district.
I'm Sue Griebler, the first grade teacher at Jones Elementary.
I'm Joe Frisetta. I'm Reed's dad.
I'm Gail Frisetta. I'm Reed's mom.
I'm Virginia Stern. I'm the speech language pathologist at Kennedy School.
Glad to have you here. I think we had a very good first meeting, and we're here now to deal with the issues that we left open from the last meeting. We're talking about placement for Reed and services.
Right.
Did you have an opportunity to get to the Kennedy School?
No, we really didn't. You know, that's a 20-minute ride from our house, and it's pretty far. And that's really not what we want for Reed anyway. We really think he belongs in a normal classroom. And so I really didn't see the need to go there.
It is unfortunate. The Kennedy School is a school that we're really proud of in the school district. We've designed it for children with hearing losses. Maybe we could have Mrs. Stern at least tell you a little bit about the program there.
I'd be glad to. The Kennedy School has 55 children with communication disorders, all sorts of communication disorders, including children who are deaf and hard of hearing. And we have developed a very fine program for those students at Kennedy School.
That's exactly the environment we don't want Reed in. We want him in a mainstream school. We don't want him in that type of environment.
Yeah, we just moved him out of a school where he was with 8 other deaf and hard of hearing kids in his classroom, and that was the problem. He wasn't getting socialization there. They had the same language delays that he did, and he didn't have any role models for language.
Well, at the Kennedy School, what we've got really is the best of all possible worlds. We were talking about Reed maybe in the morning or for half the day he would be in a regular classroom, and then in the afternoon he'd be in the separate room with Mrs. Stern, who's really going to be able to work intensively on some of these services. Our concern, I think, Reed has a language delay. What is that, Mrs. Stern?
I would say 18-month delay, yes, 18-month delay.
Well, with an 18-month delay, we're concerned about, Reed just going into the regular classroom for the whole day.
I think he needs a full-time aide in the classroom that's going to help him with socialization with the other children. And we also think that he needs 3 therapy sessions a week with a speech language pathologist. That's what we want for him.
Well, let's try to parse this out and take it piece by piece. Mrs. Griebler, at Jones Elementary in the first grade, how large can that class be?
It's usually between 20 and 25 students. But I do not have a full-time aide in that classroom. I only have an aide for special activities.
I think that with a large class like that, coming from a small class setting in the private school, we're concerned that with the language delay, Reed might really struggle in that classroom.
The language delay that you're talking about, 18 months, isn't what we had him tested at. That's your own testing.
Well, we haven't seen any other testing that would show anything to the contrary, and we have to go with objective data based upon the appropriate tests. We are concerned providing an appropriate placement for Reed, and we want him to succeed and to do well. You're speaking about wanting him to be in a mainstream setting. Well, we give that in the morning at Kennedy, but then we can give him the intensive services to work on those.
Why are you trying to hold back this child?
We're actually trying to provide him with the supports that will...
No, Mr. Goldstein, you're not. We want him to have 3 therapy sessions a week with a speech language pathologist, and that's going to help close the gap. And having a full-time aide in the classroom is really going to help him with his socialization skills. That's what we want, and that's what he really deserves.
Well, let's talk about those socialization skills. You're talking about having an aide, but that aide is going to be in between his interactions with the other children if we provide that at the Jones School. I mean, wouldn't that be your experience, Mrs. Griebler?
I would think so.
I mean, we want him to be able to interact with his peers, but At the Kennedy School, where we've had this program designed for children with hearing loss and specifically for deaf children, the teachers are used to having deaf children there. Have you had, and Mrs. Griebler, have you had any deaf children in your class?
It's such
He's
a
not
low
going to be really
incidence.
able to reach his full potential being in a Kennedy school.
What experience have you had, Mrs. Griebler, in terms of dealing with children who are deaf?
I have not had a deaf child in my class. It's a very low incidence handicap. And I've had some hard of hearing children in the past.
You're going to have more kids coming along that are fit that exact mold that Reed is in, and the mainstream schools are going to have to accommodate these kids. That's all there is to it. And Reed is going to be the starting point.
Well, what we have at Kennedy is actually a program that's designed to deal with this low incidence disability, where we've concentrated resources so that he can be in a regular mainstream setting and then also get the intensive services in the afternoon, and then we don't have to have this aid to deal with the socialization issues.
Right, and with 55 children with communication disorders at Kennedy School, we can plan much more efficiently to give each child the therapy he or she needs.
And you want to have somebody who's got experience with deaf children, whereas at the Jones School, we wouldn't be able to provide that service. We've designed a program that's intensively for students who are deaf and other communication.
But they're all children that are deaf and have other communication disorders. He needs to be in a classroom where he has language role models that he can model after.
Well, he will have that in the morning because that would be a regular classroom at Kennedy. So he'll get that opportunity, but then in addition,
They're
he'll
not
get-
the goals we agreed upon here. We're not going over the same material here. This is different. So that's not what we agreed on.
We're not disagreeing on the goals. We're saying what's the best way to get to those goals. And, we've got a lot of experience in the district working with children who are deaf, and this is what we think is really going to provide him the supports to enable him to succeed, as opposed to dropping him into a situation where he doesn't have the supports.
Mr. Goldstein, you don't understand. Reed deserves this opportunity to be in his neighborhood school. And I am very upset that you're not willing to even listen to or consider our wants and needs for our child. We know him best.
Well-
And